to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. So what do we have on store for you here tonight? Folks, Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and there are going to be plenty of those lovey-dovey horror films that you can go out and see, including Hard Eyes, which looks so good. But I got a chance to go catch an early screening of a different film at Alamo Drafthouse the other night that fits right into that theme. So that is what we are jumping in here tonight. Folks, in movie reviews, I am talking Companion. Let's not waste any time though and jump right into it. If you haven't seen the trailer for Companion before, this tells the story of Josh and Iris, a couple who are headed out on an isolated getaway with their friends in the middle of nowhere, but after one of their group is murdered, the inner workings of these relationships will be put to the test after they find out that someone amongst them is a robot. And there it is, folks, that is Companion. Now, right off the gate, it's gonna be hard to escape thinking of films like Megan, Child's Play, and even a film that I got a chance to review last year, Subservience, because that is a big part of this film, is talking about our reliance on artificial intelligence, and more specifically, putting that artificial intelligence into something physical. You know, we live in a world these days to where AI is doing some very interesting things on a bunch of different platforms. And so films like the ones I've named and Companion here are trying to show some of the bigger dangers that can come out of it. Now, is that the main message that Companion is trying to tell? Absolutely not. And I do caution y'all, I am going to have to talk a few spoilers in this one, as there's not really a way to do this review justice without acknowledging a few spoilers here for this. So if you don't walk in blind, you want to turn this review off right now, come back after you see the film. But if you don't care, I'm going to hit a few here for you as I discuss this. Now, with this here, our focus is the couple Josh and Iris. Iris played by Sophie Thatcher, who we've seen in so many good horror projects over the last few years.
And then Jack Quaid is playing Josh, who we know from Scream 5 and The Boys.
One of the main themes of this film is the misogynistic treatment of our partners, and how a lot of times we use them up and just get what we need out of them, and then we easily just shut them down to try to move on to whatever else we want to focus on at that time. We don't treat them with respect. We don't treat them or talk to them like they're an actual person. They're there for nothing more than our fulfillment. And that's exactly the way that Josh ends up treating Iris over the course of this film. Now, what separates this from films like Child's Play and Subservience and Megan is the fact that, at least in Iris's case, she becomes aware that she is a robot. And it's not really this whole thing about, well, now the robots have got to rise up. Y'all have been treating us like shit for so long, and we will no longer tolerate it. It's time to destroy all mankind. That's not the focus of this. We're not watching Skynet or anything. Instead, it's this idea that artificial intelligence, the fear of it, is that at one point it becomes sentient. It's able to think for itself. It's no longer held by the constraints of being something electronic. It's something similar to us. And as we see over the course of this film with Iris, we see just the amount of emotion and love and heartache and pain and all these things that she can go to, that she's experiencing genuinely for the first time, and how that puts her at odds with what she truly is. The nice thing about this is that the film doesn't really have to have these characters playing these roles like we would in a lot of these other films where they lean into the robotic aspect of it. So Sophie Thatcher very much is playing like a real person in this film, and that adds quite a lot because it's easy for us to connect with Iris and basically be the one that we're rooting for here when all of this madness ends up going down. This is a very bloody and brutal film with that, which I was not really expecting. You know, I saw that Zach Kreger was a producer on this, and to be honest, when I first heard about this film, I didn't really pay that much attention, so I just assumed he had wrote and directed this one too. And if you've seen Barbarian, which if you haven't seen Barbarian, please go fix that blind spot. If you haven't seen Barbarian, it's such a great film, but it's also very bloody, very gross, and very brutal as well too. And so I was like, oh man, these are all Craig's trademarks. And it's like, oh, no. He didn't actually write or direct this at all. Drew Hancock is the writer or director here, making his debut. And it's a pretty decent debut, honestly. My bigger issues here with this film is that while it does have great commentary on the state of a lot of relationships these days that we have with technology, the state of relationships we have with each other, and again, misogynistic treatment of women, and honestly, just partners in general here, there's a lot of good with that. I don't think it leans into its plot with these robots, like truly learning to love as much as it honestly could. And I say that because it is not an isolated experience, but it is a very condensed one to where it's just this small group, a group of six, two, four, yeah, group of seven actually here. Group of six. Sorry, I had to think about that. This group of six here, it's a very small group. And so the thing is, we don't really get to see the effect that these robots are having like on the rest of the world. It is such an isolated experience because I was kind of curious that if it's happening to one or two models that are dealing with these kind of relationships, what about for all these other ones that are out there? Like there's all these teases of this bigger world and issues that these robots have had before in other incidents, which of course leads to the idea that there could easily be a prequel or a sequel that doesn't have to do with any of the characters presented here in this film, except maybe the text at the end. Love my boy Jabuki. But overall, I just wish the world building was a bit bigger than what it ultimately was. You know, the movie hits you with a deep gut punch in certain places as well too, because it talks about how a lot of times we're very much replaceable. You know, there's a scene that's played for laughs that shows a character remembering when they first ran into the person that they're in a relationship with, and then that gets changed differently to replay the same scene with somebody else a little bit later. And it's kind of heartbreaking because when you think about it, it's kind of saying that this literally could have been anybody and it doesn't change anything about our relationship at all. And that really cut deep, honestly, about how replaceable people tend to see other people sometimes in this world, or at least in that world. That very much cut me deep seeing something like that. Still a good directorial debut. I think that that Hancock assembled a fantastic cast for this. Again, Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, Lucas Gage, who you might remember from Smile 2, Megan Suri plays Kat, Harvey Gian, who all y'all know from What We Do in the Shadows. It's a really fun cast that we have here for sure, and everybody gets a chance to shine. It almost in a way felt a little bit like Bodies, to where there's this whole idea of this big murder that sets up the events of the night and everybody worrying about each other, and then they kind of start to implode on each other. And this definitely had a lot of that here for sure in Companion, along with a lot of blood, like I said, a lot of brutality, but it is really damn funny as well. There are some really good jokes in here. And now, while I don't think it is the perfect debut for Drew Hancock, it does interest me enough to see what he's going to do with the recently announced Faculty remake that he is writing and directing. If you didn't catch my brief earlier today, Variety has announced that Drew Hancock has come aboard to remake the Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Williamson late 90s classic. It's so crazy to think that we're now firmly entrenched in that period to where films that I grew up with from the 90s are now all catching sequels and remakes and prequels. Like, we're firmly away from the 80s at this point, and that is so weird to think about, but very cool to see my childhood coming back and everybody getting a chance to have a new experience with that. So awesome. You can catch Companion in theaters right now, and let me know in the comment section what you thought of it here. Do you think we're in good hands with Drew Hancock in this Faculty remake after seeing it? Curious of your thoughts on it, y'all. But that's going to do it for me here tonight. Don't forget to get subscribed. You can go to my Linktree, linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. That'll give you access to the YouTube page, video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms with audio-only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for short horror content including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for horror gaming including The Thing Remastered and Phasmophobia, and my Fangoria shop page where you enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Hit that subscribe button, folks. I got more great reviews coming your way, but that's going to do it for me tonight. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.